Bam, Leute. Herzlich willkommen zurück zu Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Trials and Tribulations. In der Episode 3. Recipe for Turnabout. Wir sind hier. Zurück im District Court. Defendant Lobby Number 1. Und, haben im letzten Part einiges erlebt. Wir haben einen Tiger getroffen. Ja, und unseren Phony. Es gab einen Virusangriff. Oder ein Virusangriff, nicht Hackerangriff. Ja, Virus. Der MC Bomber Virus. Wir haben eine Frau getroffen, oder ein Mädchen, man weiß glaube ich nicht, wie alt sie ist, von einem Mafia-Boss. Und die will alles in Brand setzen. Und sie mag Fleisch. Wovon wir auch was mit bei uns haben. Wir haben ganz viele Würstchen in unserer Tasche. Also es ist vieles passiert letzten Part. Und heute kommt alles zusammen. Würstchenparty, let's go. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Good morning, Maggie. So, what do you think is going to happen today, sir? Yesterday's session didn't go so well and ended on a giant mystery. That's true. Und mein Hals ist ein bisschen kratzig gerade. Aber wird schon gehen. Ja, und sonst, ja. Ich habe hier Wasser stehen, noch so ein Schluck. Ich bin gut vorbereitet, I know. We still haven't solved a single part of it yet. Ja, dafür sind wir ja jetzt da. Are you okay, Nick? Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. I saw that little flash of doubt in your eyes. No, that wasn't doubt. That was determination. He was filled with determination. Woher kenne ich das? Why don't I believe you? It's nearly time, Maggie. You better get going to the defendant's seat. Roger, don't let me down, Mr. Wright. I'm counting on you. Okay. Ja, wird schon gut gehen. Hey, pal. Hey, pal. Quit stressing Maggie out. She doesn't need that. How did you know she was stressed? I was watching through the doorway. Ja, und wer würde nicht gestresst sein? An einem Gerichtstag. Oh. You look like you lost the case already. Show a bit of confidence, will you, pal? Here, maybe this'll help. Huh? Have you taken up aromatherapy too? Not in a million years, pal. Don't tell me that you don't remember this thing. Come to think of it, that doesn't look like one of those aromatherapy bottles. This is the small bottle that turned up in Trebians kitchen a couple of days ago. Ja, das haben wir ihm ja gegeben, schon Ewigkeiten vorher. Wow, look at all these little bottles. Oh, they're aromatherapy oils. Therapy oils. He's got so many. They're all flowing onto the floor. Hey, wait a minute. There's one bottle that's different from all the others. Well, what do you know? And it doesn't have a label either. And it doesn't smell. We finally got the analysis results back from the lab. Hat ja nur 3 Wochen oder... Nee, über einen Monat gedauert. Naja, gut. So, what is it? Is it the poison? I'm afraid not, pal. It's medication. Medication? Yeah, for ears. Topical use only, apparently. For ears? You mean... Yeah, it's the medication Glenn Elk was using for his ruptured eardrum. What was Glenn Elk's ear medicine doing in the kitchen? Victim's ear medicine, found covered in unidentified fingerprints. In the kitchen. What about the unidentified fingerprints? Anything on that? Someone screwed up, so they only had time to analyze the contents of the bottle. Another hour and they might have gotten something on the prints, but... That's going to weaken its impact as a piece of evidence. Okay, pal, this is it. Make sure defense is impregnable today, got it? Today's trial. I'm gonna expose that guy for what he's done, or my name isn't Phoenix Wright. That's right. That's right. Punkt 10 Uhr. Court is now in session for the trial of Maggie Bird. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Ready and waiting as always, Your Honor. Ich habe schon fast seine Stimme wieder vergessen, aber ich glaube, es war irgendwie so, ne? Very good, then we'll get underway at once. Ach nee, wenn der Tiger jetzt auch noch da ist, das wird richtig... Oh nee. Und dann Gamschuh auch noch vielleicht? Oh Gott. Yesterday we heard the testimony of Mr. Victor Kudo. Es war ein Monat oder so, nicht gestern, aber ja, ist okay. He claims to have witnessed the defendant putting a powder into the victim's coffee. However, the witness's testimony was plagued with a number of problems. The mark on the rim of the cup shows that the victim drank from it with his right hand. But according to the old man's testimony, he picked it up with his left hand. Thank you, Mr. Godot. Furthermore, according to the witness's account, the victim was listening to the radio with an earpiece in his left ear. Yet the victim's left eardrum was ruptured, which made him effectively deaf in that ear. It's amazing how many contradictions a single case can have, huh, Nick? Allow me to enlighten you, Your Honor. The world, you see, keeps turning, and we must turn with it. You've lost me already, Mr. Godot. Don't let the mysteries of yesterday mystify you today. Only losers think like that. You've got to change with the times. That's one of my rules. Are you implying that you've resolved these contradictions? You know the answers to these riddles? The old guy wasn't just throwing seeds in here. He was throwing us off the scent. And today, I'll prove it. Very well. Let the first witness take the stand. Okay. Oh, hi. And you are? Oh, bonjour, everyone. I am Sean Armstrong, the owner and the head chef of La Très Bien Restaurant. Enchanté. Forgive me for asking, witness, but are you a woman? Oh la la, monsieur. As you can see, I am la pert and perky gentleman, no? The day of the incident, you were in Très Bien's kitchen. Isn't that right? With you, monsieur. Oh. Everything feels right. Ja, nimm dir noch eine. Nimm dir gleich zwei. Wow, he's totally unfazed. Doesn't anything intimidate this guy? Very well. Your testimony, please, witness. Please tell the court what happened that day at Très Bien. Oui, volontiers. At Très Bien. When it all happened, there were just 2 customers in my restaurant. I remember I was experimenting with some new art deco that day. Like having a large mirror between the tables, for example. Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. La coupe, la earpiece, and la glasses. He would have seen everything in reverse, no? Huh. Okay. Mirror? Oui, un grand mirror. La most enormes mirror. Kannst du nicht normal stehen eigentlich? Das ist schlecht für den Rücken. And suddenly, the mystery disappears. Like I said, the world keeps turning, so roll with it. I would explain the coffee cup and the earpiece conundrum. The mirror would have made everything appear back to front. What the heck? It's way too early in the morning for this to be happening to me. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Okay. 2 customers in my restaurant. And who were the 2 customers exactly? May of course, the young man who died. and the other not so young man who did not die. Unfortunately. You are referring to yesterday's witness, I presume? What about the other man Maggie says she saw at the table? Ja, Phoenix, du hast ja gesehen, dass die beiden zusammengearbeitet haben letzte Folge. Ja, die wollten richtig schön... Die hatten was Unanständiges im Kopf. Wenn Gumshoe nicht dazwischen gekommen wäre, ne? Naja. Von daher, klar, covert er für ihn. Something tells me Mr. Armstrong isn't planning to disclose his existence. We need some hard evidence first before we can bring him up, don't we? Guess I'll just have to try a different approach for the time being. Okay, also es geht darum, wir müssen den Tiger jetzt hier irgendwie, ne, revealen. Okay, ja. You were experimenting with art deco? How come I never heard about that before today? You are not familiar with the language of interior design, monsieur? Please stay on topic. Now, why didn't you tell the court about this before? But I did just a few moments ago. War er eigentlich schon War er schon vor Gericht? Nee, oder? Das ist doch sein erstes Mal. Also gut, ich muss mich auch gerade räuspern. Danke dir, Judge. Excuse me, Mr. Armstrong. This deco you mentioned, are you referring to some sort of decoction? Keine Ahnung, was es ist, klingt aber falsch. No, art deco, it is a style of design, Your Honor. He's talking about interior design. Walls, ceilings, carpets, that kind of thing. Ah, yes, of course. That deco. I was trying to achieve a more effeminate look for my restaurant. I was planning the most bold remodeling of la decor. Like having a large mirror. Okay. How big of a mirror are we talking about here? Above something about 4 meters wide and about 2 meters high. Let's see, if 1 meter is about 1 yard, holy glass what's holy glass in a frame? That's huge. 1 Meter ist 1 Yard? Stimmt das? Ist die Yard nicht mega riesig? Naja, egal. Also 2 mal 4 Meter ist... Da ist ein Gerät. I was intending to install it on the ceiling eventually. The ceiling? Was there a mirror on the ceiling? I don't remember. Mais non, but I decided not to go through with it in the end. What should I do? Should I ask him more about the mirror or not? Ja, natürlich. If you really had such a large mirror in the restaurant, someone would have noticed it. But there's nothing about the mirror in Mr. Kudo or Maggie Bird's testimonies. But... You didn't ask, Wright. You have only yourself to blame for such sloppy work. What? The mirror was delivered to Très Bien the day before the incident. Really? As Mr. Armstrong testified, he was carrying out some design changes. And as it turned out, he didn't actually use the mirror in the end. This just doesn't add up. Even if a mirror was delivered to Très Bien, it doesn't prove that it was in the restaurant on the day of the crime. If you want to doubt someone, try it. Look in the mirror. I'm sure the person looking back at you will be dubious enough. So the witness yesterday had seen the victim reflected in a mirror. Ja, aber das... Also er ist ja nicht dumm. Er weiß ja, dass er dann in den Spiegel geschaut hat. Oder? Na gut, also... Naja, vielleicht hat es schon gezwitschert in seinem Oberstübchen. Oui, perhaps that is what the old man was looking at. Yeah. Normally I'd expect people to know the difference between a reflection and a real object. Yeah. Normally? How does normality come into this? That's lame, right? Even for you. Huh? Are you trying to say that if something isn't normal, it isn't possible? Is that it? Where does that leave the pork-you-headed... where does that leave the pork-you-headed lawyer and the top-notch chick over there? And the ungodly cool guy with the mask over here? Well tried. Ah! Not the hair! I do not have a top knot. Mr. Godot is correct. A lack of normality is no basis for discounting an argument. Eh bien, logic has won la day. Aha. Okay. Coupe la earpiece in la glasses. Aha. Everything? You would have seen everything in reverse. Oui. Hey Nick, you should take a second to think about what old CD said in his testimony. Ja, war vielleicht gut. How did he phrase it again? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. Okay. Was ist left hier? Also, seine Main-Aussage ist nicht, dass es sein linkes Ohr ist, sondern dass es auf der gleichen Seite ist wie das Ding, ne? Und sein Ding ist auf seinem linken Auge. Das selbst wenn er es im Spiegel gesehen haben sollte und sein Ohrstöpsel da war im rechten Ohr, dann hätte er den Ohrstöpsel zwar links gesehen, aber dann wäre, ne, die Linse da, ne, wäre dann auf dem rechten Auge. Also ich glaube, ja, vielleicht pressen wir das. If he saw everything he described reflected in a mirror, then everything he said he saw on the left was actually on the right, huh? And that clears up all the problems with his testimony, I guess. Or does it? It's kinda hard to believe everything is the fault of a mirror, but... Do you think old CD saw everything through a reflection? If he did, it would explain all the contradictions in his testimony. But that just makes the situation worse for Maggie. There's gotta be something in that old man's testimony. You just gotta dig deeper. Yeah, I know. Calm down. Die Tasse, das Earpiece und die Glasses. Genau, und die Glasses sind dann aber am falschen Ort. Und dafür presse ich jetzt einfach mal das Profil, hätte ich gesagt. Ja. The coffee cup, the earpiece and the HMD. Let's think back over Mr. Kuda's testimony for a second, shall we? The boy was wearing the earpiece on the same side as the green lens of his specs. No question, you can lock me up if I'm wrong. It was his left ear, without a doubt. So, to summarize, we were told both the HMD and the earpiece were on the victim's left side. Now, if Mr. Kudo saw all that as a reflection in a mirror, it means both the HMD and the earpiece were actually on the victim's right side. Exactement. You see, monsieur, that's how you think about it. This is not so hard, no? Unfortunately, that's where we run into a monumental contradiction with the facts. If Mr. Kudo really did see everything in a mirror, why is it that the HMD is now on the wrong side of his head? Order! Mr. Wright is correct. If the witness genuinely observed the victim reflected in a mirror, they would expect the victim's eyepiece to have been over his right eye. How bitter. That's right, you should have a taste of this bitterness. It'll calm you down in no time. Are we talking about your coffee or something completely different? You don't understand the way the witness thinks. How he thinks? You remember this, I presume? The I broke the vase sorry apology led, I mean Mr. Kudo's sworn testimony. Exactly. The old man has one very grievous habit, other than throwing seeds. The more of an impression something makes, the more muddled his mind makes it. And what's the most striking thing about Mr. Elk? Clearly it's the victim's eyepiece. That's my point. The old man strikes again. Mr. Elk's HMD made a big impression on the old man. I saw the earpiece, and those newfangled spectacles he was wearing. Oh, yes, they were both on his left ear, do you hear? His left ear. Ha, well tried. That's the worst, but best impression of Kudo ever. Wow, I really thought he was old C for a minute there. Good, that was good. Ich hab's nicht mal versucht. Oh Mann. Enough. I must agree that yesterday's witness was irresponsibly rash in much of his testimony. Bad luck, Nick. It looks like the boil of contradiction you found is just a rash. A mirror can't be beaten by a handful of seeds, nor can it lie. So, what exactly was the old man looking at? Fill us in, Mr. Armstrong. Go on, tell the court. We're all ears. Oui, I can explain. Please, if you will look at la plans of la restaurant. Okay, kriegen wir neue evidence. The mirror. Alors, is everyone sitting comfortably? La mirror, it was in the middle of la restaurant, dividing the two halves. Okay. Ja, aber Moment. Mr. Kudo ist doch unten rechts gesessen, also ganz unten rechts. Dann bringt der Spiegel ja überhaupt nichts. Der Spiegel hätte nur was gebracht, wenn er oben links gesessen hätte. Oder? Ich meinte, der saß doch unten rechts. Haben wir das nicht? Oder bin ich gerade verwirrt? Vielleicht verwechsel ich auch gerade was. Wir gucken mal, was er sagt. Genau. Hä, er ist doch dort gesessen? Okay, ja gut, dann. Gut. Never mind. There is only one seat from which you could have seen an image of la victim. That was la seat at the table next to la victims. That was where la old man was sitting. After la terrible incident occurred, I moved la mirror so it was not in the way. But naturally, I did not touch anything else. I see no problems with the explanation we have just heard. From the table next to the victims, Mr. Kudo could have seen the victim in the mirror. What a naughty little coquette I am, confusing all the men like this. Don't worry about it. You can keep up. Except for the guy breaking out in a cold sweat over there again. I hate that guy. You said you didn't touch anything else apart from the mirror. Are you quite sure about that? Volontiers, of course. Very well. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. Okay, ich will kurz mal... Ja. Ich will kurz mal nochmal die Evidence umgucken hier. Habe ich hier irgendwo Floorplans? Ne, das ist nicht das, was ich will. Crime Photo? Okay. Ja. Ja, ich glaube, ich habe eine Idee. Also das Ding ist, vielleicht verwechsel ich jetzt auch gerade was, aber ich meinte, er ist eben nicht dort gesessen. Oder bilde ich mir das nur ein? Habe ich das nicht irgendwo gesehen? Auf jeden Fall, was ich jetzt gerade gesehen habe, hier im Bild sieht man, da wo er behauptet, dass Mr. Kudo sitzt, da steht die Vase. Und die Vase ist ja zerbrochen, eigentlich. Das heißt, es ist eigentlich nicht sein Platz. Von daher stimmt da meine Theorie schon. Aber ich bin mir gerade nicht sicher. Eventuell. Eventuell erinnere ich mich einfach gerade nur von früher. Das kann auch sein. Ich hätte schwören können, wir hätten hier irgendwo gesehen, dass er dort gesessen hat. Aber vielleicht ist es auch einfach nur aus meiner Erinnerung so. Naja, auf jeden Fall. Das Ding ist, er sitzt nicht dort. So, wie beweisen wir jetzt das? Mit dem Foto oder mit dem Testimony? I broke the vase at my seat, I'm sorry. Wir gucken uns nochmal die Statements an. Ja, das ist richtig. That was where the old man was sitting. Ja, das ist falsch. I moved the mirror, so it was not in the way. Ja. Jetzt, soll ich das Testimony pressen? Wahrscheinlich, oder? Weil das Foto beweist ja erstmal nichts, ne? Aber das beweist, hey, da müsste eine zerbrochene Vase sein. Ist da eine zerbrochene Vase? Ich weiß nicht. Ja, hier, guck auf dem Foto. Ja, okay. Also ich presse mal das hier. Klingt richtig. Your Honor, Mr. Kudo's words yesterday strongly contradict Mr. Armstrong's testimony. This is the letter of apology that was written by Mr. Kudo, is it not? I realize it looks useless, Your Honor, but this is still testimony. Huh. I guess useless people are only really good at identifying useless things. What relevance does this scrap of paper have to do with the trial, Mr. Wright? Mr. Kudo's testimony is actually very relevant to the question at hand, Your Honor. Because it very clearly contradicts with this piece of evidence. Ah, okay, ich muss das Foto auch noch. Alles klärchen. Die Würstchen. Contradicts the wieners. Crime photo, ne? Yes. That is it. Take that! This piece of evidence contradicts with the testimony we heard, Your Honor. The crime photo? Yes, this photo clearly shows something that theoretically should not exist. What on earth do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? Should not exist? Sounds like you're describing yourself, Wright. Now then, if the defense would please clarify its statement. What is the something that should not exist in this photo? The vase. Und Moment, jetzt kann ich mal kurz testen. Es sieht so aus, als ob... Nee, er ist immer noch... Der Drift ist immer noch drin. Naja. Egal. Dann ist es halt so. So, ich hoffe, ich muss ja nicht... Ja, so, sollte okay sein, ne? There is one thing that was clearly demonstrated by yesterday's testimony. Mr. Kudo broke the vase that was on the table where he was sitting. And yet, as the court can see, there is an unbroken vase on the table next to the victim. Why? Because Mr. Kudo was not, in fact, sitting at the table next to the victim at all. Objection! Don't be an idiot, Wright. That's impossible. That seat's the only one Kudo could have seen the victim's reflection from. Exactly. There is only one conclusion we can draw from this contradiction. There was no mirror in Trebia that day. Your testimony, Mr. Armstrong, is an elaborate lie. Mon Dieu! Don't try to confuse the court, Wright. Obviously the witness cleaned up the vase, while the police were taking their time getting to the crime scene. Unfortunately, Mr. Godot, that doesn't quite work for me. Mr. Armstrong already testified to the contrary, in his own words. I did not touch anything else except the mirror. Well, witness, What do you have to say for yourself? I was right. There was no mirror in the restaurant that day. In light of this revelation, we return back to the original problem. Why did the victim have an earpiece in an ear in which he couldn't hear? You only get one shot in life. There's no turning back. For him to claim that the mirror wasn't there, right? Then his problem is all yours. How do you explain what the old man saw? If I can answer this, then I'll be that much closer to the truth. I can feel it. Are you going to be okay? Can you really solve this contradiction, Nick? There's more than just this one contradiction, Maya. What do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean? Remember what Maggie told us? There was, another man at the victim's table. And there was a sample CD on the victim's table. It all flies in the face of Mr. Kuda's testimony. And I think I know the reason why nothing in this case is adding up. Well, Mr. Wright, let's hear your answer. Yes, Your Honor. The reason behind all the contradictions in Mr. Kuda's testimony is simple. Jetzt bin ich gespannt. Mr. Kuda made a mistake. Das klingt zu blöd. The ear doctor made a mistake. Das klingt auch irgendwie wack. The victim was a phony. Huh. Hä? Moment. Also, hä? Das klingt alles irgendwie wack. Wack as fuck. Mr. Kudo made... The victim was a phone. Also, das ist halt zu langweilig. Das erklärt halt... Wenn wir das drücken würden und das richtig wäre, dann würden wir keine neue Erkenntnis gewinnen. Von daher, das kann ich Game Design technisch schon mal ausschließen. So, die einzigen, die neue Informationen geben würden, wären die beiden hier. Das eine wäre, Victim was a phony. Aber, wir kennen eigentlich alle, oder? Gut, es würde tatsächlich in dem Sinn machen, dass das Phony vielleicht nicht wusste, welche Seite ja am Arsch war. Also welches Ohr am Arsch war. Und deswegen hat er das Earpiece auf dem falschen Ohr platziert. Und der Ear Doctor make a mistake, das klingt halt so unglaubwürdig. Warum sollte der Doktor ein Mistake machen? Kann ich mal kurz die... Haben wir hier irgendwo noch das... Haben wir hier irgendwo Beweismittel, die dazu was sagen? Autopsy Report. Hier nix. Hier, the victim got this from the doctor. Also sie meinen, glaube ich, den Doktor, ne? Before going to trip, yeah, the bag is empty. Okay. Aber was für ein Mistake hat denn der Doktor gemacht? Weil, also, vom Doktor haben wir keine Informationen. Die einzige Information, die wir haben, ist hier. Left eardrum was ruptured. Aber diese Info stammt nicht vom Doktor, sondern das stammt wahrscheinlich von unseren Gerichtsmedizinern. Ja, also das hat dieses Statement hat nichts mit dem Doktor zu tun. Das heißt, sein linkes Ohr war im Arsch. Ne? Und aber wir haben... Ich kann es mir nicht zusammenreihen. Auf jeden Fall... Der Victim was a phony. Es würde Sinn machen, aber wer wäre der Phony? Es macht ja keinen Sinn. Wir kennen keine andere Person. Es wird jetzt nicht noch eine neue Person introduced. Von daher, ich drücke einfach mal das. Ich kann es mir noch nicht zusammenreimen. Ich drücke es einfach mal und wir gucken mal. I believe we're looking at this the wrong way. It was actually the doctor's mistake. What? Yes, the doctor got the wrong ear. Hä? Das ist doch... Well, I believe we saw an autopsy report yesterday. On that stated the victim's left eardrum was ruptured and had medicine in it. Ja, eben, ne? I'm beginning to wonder if it's not your eardrum that's ruptured, Mr. Wright. This is no time to be playing with people's perceptions, Nick. Ja, okay, also... Ich bin immer noch der Meinung, das wäre einfach, die Antwort wäre einfach zu nichts aussagend. Der Victim was a phony. Aber das glaube ich halt nicht. Ja, aber ich drück's. Also, kriegen wir irgendeine Info, wenn wir das drücken? Ich bin eben der Meinung nicht. Also, Mr. Kuda made a mistake. Was würde das dann bedeuten? Das... Nee, keine Ahnung. Ich drück phony. This case is riddled with contradictions. Yet there is one very simple answer that clears them all up. And what is that? The incident Mr. Kuda witnessed and the incident the victim experienced were two completely different events. What? Yeah, what? Yes, the victim that Mr. Kuda saw wasn't Mr. Glen Elk at all. It was an imposter, a phony pretending to be Mr. Elk. Okay. Obviously, unlike the victim, there was nothing wrong with the imposter's left eardrum. That's how he ended up wearing the earpiece in his left ear by mistake. Okay. Yeah, same. Order in the court. Settle down or I'll clear the courtroom. Quiet, Gramps. Why don't you clear out of here, huh? What did you say? That's right. Are you saying that what Mr. Kuda saw was a setup? Yes. Maybe? Someone pretended to be Glen Elk and acted out the whole coffee poisoning. Okay. All for the express purpose of creating a witness out of one Mr. Victor Kudo. Okay. Get real, trite. Why would anyone want to do that? Why would anyone want to do that? Isn't it obvious? The thing Mr. Kudo was most insistent about in his testimony was... The server girl brought him a cappuccino, but she put something in it. That's the server girl, right there in the defendant's chair. I remember her well. It's so hard to believe, but... There was one and only one reason to show Mr. Kudo this fake poisoning. To show Maggie Bird in the act of poisoning the coffee. Are you insinuating that the waitress in the old man's story was a fake as well? It's true that there were no other customers in the restaurant at the time, but... It's also true that the chef was there. He would have noticed what was happening. That's right. Well, witness? If your restaurant really was the scene of such theatrics, you would have known about it, correct? Oh la la, this is most difficult for me. No, it's quite simple. All you have to do is testify. You are under oath after all. Was there in fact a phony at the tribunal that day? The defense demands that Mr. Armstrong tell the whole truth about what happened. Defense's request for additional testimony is accepted. You will accurately explain, in detail, the events in the restaurant that day. Oh, oui. Ja, der hat Dreck am Stecken. Das rieche ich bis hier. La victim, Monsieur L. He came to my restaurant alone. I remember the old man arrived not long after him. There were no other customers. When he got word he won the lottery, Monsieur L became very excited. It was approximately 5 minutes later that the poisoning incident occurred. No, there was no time for a phony to do the acting. Just so we're clear, there was no mirror in the restaurant after all. Je vous demande pardon, forgive me, Your Honor. I lied because I wanted this mess to be cleared up quickly. All you have just done is commit perjury, Mr. Armstrong. I will decide how to punish you later. Oui. For now, we will hear your cross-examination. Mr. Wright, if you please. He took that perjury charge a bit too well. But I'm guessing he'll be in more serious trouble after this cross-examination. Okay, ja. Also, ja, er ist wir wissen ja, dass er zusammen mit dem Tiger arbeitet, ne? Von daher, ja. Damit, da wäre ich jetzt nicht drauf gekommen, ja. Und das Ganze war gespielt? Okay. Und ich habe vorhin noch so von meiner Erinnerung gelabert, dass ich vielleicht wegen meiner Erinnerung irgendwie meine, dass Mr. Kudo da unten rechts gesessen habe. Aber an das erinnere ich mich nicht, oder was? Came to my restaurant alone. Is that true? Was he alone at his table as well? Mais oui, I saw him from the kitchen. Yet the defendant, Miss Bird, remembers it differently. She swears there was another man at the victim's table. Unfortunate for you, Wright. Yesterday's witness also testified that the victim was alone. You know, seeing you squirm like that reminds me of a certain coffee's bittersweet bite. What kind of coffee has he been drinking? Ja, aber Moment. Also, wenn's da so ein... Wenn sie einmal so eine Show gegeben hat, am Anfang logischerweise, dann war Maggie noch nicht anwesend. Ja, Kudo und der Fake Elk. Der Tiger ist noch nicht gekommen, ne? Das heißt, nur Elk und Kudo waren im Gebäude. Dann hat die Fake Waitress hat den Coffee gepoisoned und der Fake Elk ist umgekippt, ne? Und das hat Mr. Kudo gesehen. So. Danach. Was passiert danach? Mr. Armstrong befiehlt Kudo, dass er die Polizei rufen soll. Das heißt, im Restaurant sind die Fake Servant, Serving Girl. Ich vergesse die Worte, Alter. Fake Maggie, so, und Fake Glenn. Die stehen dann wieder auf und gehen einfach. Ne? Ihr Job ist getan. Kudo ist weg, es ist nur noch Armstrong da. Gut, vielleicht ist Maggie irgendwie noch backstage irgendwo und hat das alles gar nicht mitbekommen. Kann sein. Aber ja, wo Maggie ist, weiß ich tatsächlich nicht. Auf jeden Fall, nachher kommt Real Glenn und der Tiger ins Restaurant rein. So, Kudo ist immer noch abwesend am Telefon suchen. Dann kommt Maggie, serviert ihnen Kaffee. Ja, aber, nee, aber das macht alles keinen Sinn. Moment, Maggie hat ja nicht... Also was? Ich lasse Phoenix das erklären, ja? It's not coffee, it's love. It's love that's bittersweet. Hearing Maya say that makes her seem wise all of a sudden. Okay, I remember the old man arrived not long after him. By old man, you mean Victor Kudo, correct? Oui, he comes often for my special coffee. I drank your coffee once, Mr. Armstrong. It's special, I'll give you that. It's worth a sip, just for the experience. Oh, you make me so happy, monsieur. You are most welcome anytime. I said it was worth one sip, and nothing more. So, old Mr. Kudo arrived at the restaurant around the same time as the victim. Or the fake victim. Whatever. Maybe I should ask about his arrival in more detail. How many minutes after? What time was it? Ja, die Zeit ist tatsächlich wahrscheinlich noch wichtig, ne? Wenn's eine Show gab, ne? Ein Fake-Mörder, dann gibt's natürlich da eine Zeitdifferenz. Dann fragen wir mal das. Out of curiosity, about what time was it when Mr. Kudo arrived? Ah, no, I cannot remember, monsieur. I believe you were told by a witness yesterday. The crime was reported at 2:25 p.m. by a kind of scary old man, sir. Okay. 2:25. Is that perhaps jog your memory, witness? The incident happened about 20 minutes after he arrived. So the victim must have arrived between 2 p.m. and 2:10 p.m., no? Was sagt unser Autopsiebericht? Ja, wow, das ist eine krasse Spanne. Between 1:30 and 2:30. Kommt halt immer noch hin, ne? Er ist um 2 Uhr angekommen. Wann hat er das gemeldet, hat er gesagt? 25, ne? Das heißt, er ist um 2:10 Uhr oder so gestorben. Ja, das kommt halt alles noch hin, ne? Just after 2, huh? Thank you for your help in jogging my memory, monsieur. You are wonderful. I can't sit here all the time and do nothing now, can I? Phoenix hat gerade nachgedacht. Und wenn Phoenix nachdenkt, ist immer so ein Hinweis, ne? Also, 2 Uhr muss dann in dem Fall doch irgendwie... Time of day will be added to the witness's testimony. Ah, okay, das war wichtig. Oui, monsieur, judge. Everything I do it for you. Merci bien. That's French, isn't it? I'm glad at least one person is in a good mood. He's even humming a song to himself. I remember the old man arrived not long after him, just after 2 p.m. Okay. Are you absolutely sure about the time? When I think really hard, I am sure it was just after 2, oui. It is the time I stopped serving the lunch menu. Quite right, I always break for lunch when the restaurants are serving their specials. I've been known to wind up a case early just to make it on time. I guess he should never get between a hungry judge and his lunch. Oh, would you look at that? It's almost lunchtime already. Witness, get hungry for testimony, please. No other customers. So, your only customers were Mr. Kudo and the victim. Ja, was ist jetzt falsch? How many times do you need to ask the same thing, Wright? You never catch me drinking the same blend twice. Huh? You're trying to establish the presence of a phony victim in the restaurant, but you're wasting your time. You can't grind bird seed to make coffee, if you catch my drift. But there's a hole in this testimony somewhere, I'm sure of it. When he got word he won the lottery, Monsieur Elk became very excited. Yeah. Did you see him? No, I was in the kitchen, but I heard him. I remember him shouting, yes, $500,000. Presumably the defendant heard that too, then, correct? Ist eigentlich nicht so das Smarteste, das einfach so laut zu rufen. Aber okay. The defendant heard that too, yeah. Maggie? She looked like a poor little frightened dove. And what about Mr. Kudo? The old man choked on some bird seeds that got stuck in his throat. Seems we now have yet another incident on our hands. 5 minutes later, the poisoning incident occurred. Also 5 Minuten nachdem er gekommen ist. Also 5 nach 2, ne? Und das kommt halt hin mit dem Autopsiebericht, ne? Ja. And what were you doing at that point? Without any customers, you must have had time to kill. I am a multi-talented woman, monsieur. Sorry? What do you mean? The renowned chef John Armstrong and la tragic poet Clarice Armstrong. Ach, darum wechselt er die ganze Zeit sein Gender. Clarice? Oui, I was writing a poem. An angry tale of la chef in $500,000 of debt. Cooking for a man who won $500,000 on la lottery. It is called Pourquoi. It means why. Perhaps I could recite it for la court. Please don't. Thanks. No time for a phony to do acting. You mean you contacted the police as soon as the incident occurred? I asked the old man to call from the payphone. By your own argument, Wright. The purpose of this phony victim performance was so the old man would see it. In other words, once the incident occurred, this opportunity would completely disappear. Indeed. Bien, it seems the shadow of doubt has been lifted, n'est-ce pas? I guess Mr. Armstrong is connected to this case, huh? Absolutely. Someone was impersonating Mr. Elk, and I refuse to believe he was oblivious. He was there the whole time, after all. But if you're right, wouldn't Maggie have noticed too? Ja, eben, das ist halt auch so ein Ding. Maggie ist ja eigentlich auch noch da. Und dann war noch ein Fake-Serviererin, Kellnerin, so, das ist das Wort, das ich immer gesucht habe, Kellnerin. Die Fake-Kellnerin war ja auch noch da und das hat Maggie auch nicht gesehen? Ah, warte mal. Beziehungsweise... Jetzt, ich glaube, Moment. Der richtige Mord war nicht nach der Show, sondern vor der Show. Bevor Mr. Kudo ins Ding kam, ins Restaurant kam, oder? Ne, Moment. Aber Maggie hat Kudo gesehen, oder? Nee, warte. Ja, das ist es. Sie hat gesagt, nee, sie erinnert sich nicht an einen alten Mann, aber eine Frau. Und das ist das... Okay, Fake-Kellnerin. Also, wir schreiben jetzt die Szene hier, ne? Armstrong, Küche. Fake Serving Girl ist im Restaurant. Phony Glenn Elk ist im Restaurant. Und der Tiger ist im Restaurant. Tiger und der Phony. Und Fake Girl. Maggie bringt ihm den Kaffee. Der Kaffee hat nichts drin. So, also nichts passiert bisher. Dann trinkt Fake Glenn Elk den normalen Kaffee und spielt jetzt seinen Tod vor. Maggie sieht das, ist schockiert, kippt um. So, der Rest, der jetzt im Restaurant ist jeder ist Teil von dem Mordplan, ne? Fake Elk steht wieder auf, der Tiger steht auch auf, Fake Girl bleibt im Restaurant, Armstrong zieht Maggie in die Küche, die ist ausgenockt für den Rest des Tages oder wie auch immer. So, Tiger und Fake Elk gehen raus. Der richtige Elk kommt rein, Mr. Kudo kommt rein. Fake-Kellnerin ist immer noch im Restaurant. Vergiftet den Kaffee. Mr. Kudo sieht das. Sieht aber keinen Tiger, weil der ist ja schon gegangen. Der richtige Elk stirbt. Moment, nee. Es geht immer noch nicht auf, weil wenn das der richtige Elk ist, der richtige Glenn Elk, dann würde er sein Earpiece nicht auf der falschen Seite tragen. Das heißt, Mr. Kudo muss ja mit dem Fake Elk. Ich check es nicht. Ist der richtige Elk gar nie ins Restaurant gekommen? Okay, wir gucken mal. Ich laber hier schon zu viel. But if you're right, wouldn't Maggie have noticed too? She fell unconscious when the incident occurred, remember? Ah, you mean that's when the phony staged his act. Ja. We'll know for sure once I find a hole in this testimony. Ja, das war's leider jetzt mit unserer Info. Mehr kriegen wir nicht. Was haben wir für Evidence? Here Medicine. Brauchen wir noch nicht. Ist die Frage, warum es in der Küche war. Und wem die Fingerprints gehören. Aber erstmal keine Connection, ne? Das, ja, das ist wahrscheinlich für später, was den Tiger halt ans Restaurant bindet. Das wird wahrscheinlich obvious Evidence später sein. Medical Papers, das kommt auch erst viel später. Wahrscheinlich nächste Folge sogar. Die haben wir noch gar nicht diskutiert. Das, keine Ahnung, warum das in meinem Inventar ist. Oh, hier haben wir Zeit. Experience the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life every Monday at 1:30. Okay. Das war vor Kudo. Okay. Theory Crafting geht weiter. Wir schreiben die Szene nochmal. Richtiger Elk ist im Restaurant. Wir schreiben 1:30 Uhr. Richtiger Elk sitzt im Restaurant. Fake Girl ist im Restaurant. Maggie ist im Restaurant. Und der Controller bewegt sich von alleine. Alter, please, stop it! Stop it. Fake Girl ist im Restaurant, Maggie ist im Restaurant. Armstrong ist in der Küche. So, Fake Girl poisont den Kaffee heimlich in der Küche. Maggie bringt den vergifteten Kaffee, ohne es zu wissen, zu Real Glenn Elk, der mit dem Tiger da sitzt und verhandelt über die CD. Und dann stirbt er. Also der richtige Elk stirbt. Maggie sieht das, fällt um. So, ab jetzt, Elk ist ja tot, das heißt, alle anderen sind jetzt auch wieder Teil der Show. Wir haben, die Real Maggie wird von Armstrong in die Küche getragen, die ist ausgenockt für den Rest. Wir haben jetzt noch Armstrong, Fake Girl, also Fake-Kennerin und den Tiger. Armstrong und der Tiger entsorgen den Real Glen Elk. Und der Tiger bleibt weg. Armstrong kommt wieder rein in die Küche, whatever. Der Elk kommt rein. Jetzt beginnt die Show. Kudo kommt rein. Die Fake-Kennerin bringt ihm einen Kaffee und streut kein Gift, sondern Crystal Meth rein. Ja, davon stirbt er nicht. Er wird nur high. Das war Teil der Abmachung, vielleicht, wer weiß. Er trinkt das Crystal Meth, ist voll high und kippt um. Mr. Kudo sieht das und ruft die Polizei. Fake Elk und Fake Kellnerin gehen raus und haben eine Drogenparty. Ende. Der Vorhang fällt. Applaus. Okay, ich hab's im Kopf. So, jetzt habe ich es macht alles Sinn. Ich glaube, es gab kein Loch in der Szene. Jetzt müssen wir nur noch finden, was die Contradiction ist. Monsieur Elk came to my restaurant alone. Das stimmt halt nicht. Der Real Elk ist mit dem Tiger gekommen. So. Ah, genau. Not long after 2 p.m. Und das ist falsch, weil die Lotterie kam viel früher. Boom. I'm afraid I finally got you, Mr. Armstrong. Quoi? What do you mean? At the time in question, the victim was listening to the radio with his earpiece. The show he was listening to was Millionaire Radio. Each week they announced the winning numbers on the $500,000 lottery ticket. Oui, that must be the show Monsieur Elk was listening to. I can't see any problem with this testimony, Mr. Wright. I wonder. You say the victim arrived at your restaurant after 2 p.m., correct? Oui, I am sure of it. I remember it perfectly now. I know it was that time because I had just finished serving the lunch menu. Get to the point, Wright, if you have one. That show is broadcast live at 1:30 p.m. and it claims to be the most thrilling 10 minutes of your life. It's on the air at 1:30. Now, supposedly, the victim made some noise when it was announced that he had won. And yet, I don't believe his cry of joy would have occurred after 2 p.m. because the show had already finished more than 30 minutes earlier by that point in time. No! This victim, we've been told about, has done nothing but the impossible. Listening to the radio with a ruptured eardrum. Catching a show that was already over. There is only one conclusion you can draw from these facts. This victim was an imposter acting out the poisoning 30 minutes after the real murder. Yes, baby. Go get him, Phoenix. Yes, there were 2 Glen Elks in Trebian that day. The real Glen Elk, now dead, having been poisoned by the real killer, and the phony Glen Elk acting out the events for Mr. Kudo to witness. It certainly seems that way. I mean, if that wasn't the case, how could you explain the time discrepancy? Quite a performance, Wright. You are almost on a roll. But sadly, you lack the rock-hard foundation of the rhythm to build your song. What is this? Music Theory 101? Let's recap. According to your imaginative theory, it's now just after 2 p.m. The phony elk is performing a play for the benefit of Mr. Kudo. How do you explain then where the real Glen Elk is? Dead. In the kitchen or wherever. I don't believe I have to spell this out for the court. However, at that time the real Glen Elk was already... That's certainly the obvious conclusion. Thank you, Wright. That was exactly what I was hoping you would say. What? Now, I presume you can prove this theory of yours. Can you explain where the missing corpse went to? The missing corpse? According to the old man's testimony, there was only one other customer there. If that customer was the phony Glen Elk, then where did the killer hide the body of the real victim? In the kitchen. Wobei, nee, in der... Ja doch. Weil Maggie ist ja ne, ausgenockt. Die merkt das nicht, wenn sie neben einer Leiche chillt. Von daher alles easy. Prosecution has a valid point, Mr. Wright. If your theory is to stand up to examination by the court, you must provide us with proof by answering the prosecution's question. Where did the killer hide the body? Yes, Your Honor. No conjecture tried. Let's hear some facts, for once. Show the court a piece of evidence that proves where the body was hidden. Evidence? What's with the intense pressure in here all of a sudden? Evidence habe ich doch nicht, oder? I thought I had him with that contradiction. But he's turned it all around and backed me into a corner instead. Well, Mr. Wright, the court will now hear the defense's theory and evidence. First, where was the body of the real Mr. Elk concealed? Outside Trivia, Inside Trivia. Also ich muss noch Proof zeigen. Also Proof haben wir halt gar nichts. Nee, ne? Oder sie haben ihn hier hingebracht, aber... Ich würd mal sagen Inside, weil dann kommt eventuell dann mal die Frage auf, hä, aber Mr. Armstrong hätte das ja gesehen. Ja, weil Mr. Armstrong halt, ne? Mit dabei ist. Und da ich sage, aber Beweise haben wir eigentlich keine. It would have to be too dangerous to take the body outside. Ja, das auch. Das wäre ein bisschen suspicious, wenn da Passanten vorbeigehen. Obviously, the body must have been hidden somewhere inside Trivia. Interesting. But where could the body have been hidden inside a restaurant? Perhaps you would care to show the court on these plans, Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. Oh, ich glaube, ich bin auf dem richtigen Pfad. Oh ja, die Küche ist zu sehen. The exact location where the body was concealed is... the kitchen. La cuisine. The body was hidden here. I see. Nicht? Nice supposition. But the real question is, can you back it up? Ach so. Where's the evidence that proves the body was hidden in that location? Aber ich habe keine Evidence. Fuck. Evidence. Ich habe keine Evidence. Oder ist das die Evidence, dass es irgendwie rausgefallen ist? Hab ich recht? Holy shit. Of course! Natürlich habe ich recht. Mr. Armstrong, do you recognize this bottle? No, I have never seen that ugly bottle before in my life. I use the very best bottles, monsieur. The highest quality only for me. Where was the bottle found, Mr. Wright? Interestingly enough, Your Honor, it was found in the kitchen of Très bien. Eh? Quoi? But you only ever use these bottles for my aromatherapy oils. But this bottle doesn't contain aromatherapy oil, Mr. Armstrong. No, it contains a medication. What kind of medication? I'm sure everyone remembers, don't they? That Mr. Elk visited a doctor clinic and was given medication that day. You can't be serious. The defense had the contents of the bottle analyzed, and I have the lab results here. The contents of the bottle match the prescription that was given to Mr. Elk. Glenn Elk's murderer hid the body in the restaurant kitchen. At the time, this bottle fell out of the victim's pocket. Mr. Armstrong, when the incident occurred, didn't you say you were in the kitchen? Mon Dieu! Yes, you know what I'm about to say. It was you who hid the victim's body. You did a fine job pretending to defend my client, Maggie Bird. However, you are setting her up to take the fall behind the poor girl's back. No! Order! It's an extraordinary development. Witness, did you murder Mr. Glenn Elk? Never! I could not do such an horrible thing. No! Jesus. Mr. Godot. Schluck erstmal runter. The bitterness. Every time I get lied to, I always down a mug of coffee. That's one of my rules. You have the slightest idea how many cups you've had by now. Then I like to do the same to the person who lied to me. I like to take them down with my empty cup. Listen up, chef. How about a brand new flavor in your ear, my age-deficient friend? Je vous demande pardon, please, you must hear me out. It is a trap, listen to me, por favor. Plötzlich Spanisch. Yo hablo español, Mr. Armstrong, and por favor is Spanish. I'm only going to ask you once. Did you do it? No, absolutely not. Let's hear it. You've got one shot, right, Gramps? Witness, the court will permit you the chance to make one final statement. If you lie under oath again, Mr. Godot's coffee mug awaits you. As does my gavel. Oui, it is clear. What do we always say in the movies? I've got a bad feeling about this. Very well. Bring a final testimony, Mr. Armstrong. The confession. Ich kurz ein Schlückchen trinken. Also, es geht ja mal gar nicht. Mi. So. It is true, I ate la party in la kitchen. Warum ist die Stimme immer schlimmer, wenn man getrunken hat? So. A man forced me to do this. I had no choice. I had to go along with him because there was a reason why I could not refuse. But I did not kill him. I swear it, you must believe me. You were forced? By who? I cannot say, or I will be erased. Let's try a different question then. When Mr. Elk died, was he really the only person at his table? No. There was the tiger. There was another man. I knew it. Maggie was telling the truth. You may cross-examine the witness now, Mr. Wright. There's just one more thing I need to do. Gotta break this guy and get him to tell us the name of the real killer. Okay, wahrscheinlich war's der Tiger, der das richtige Poison gemacht hat und nicht die Fake-Kellnerin. Aber ja, die Szene stimmt immer noch, ne? Unser schönes Schauspiel. Healer ball in the kitchen. Ja. Man forced me to do this. I had no choice. Das ist das Interessante. What man? Who was he? No, I cannot say. I fear for my life. He's really scared. You just have to put the words in his mouth, Nick. Yeah, you're right. If you won't tell me, I'll tell him. Okay, kann ich einfach... Guns blazing? Okay. But why would you go along with this man? Ja, Dann drücke ich einfach mal, oder? Let's end this dance of ring around the rosy, Mr. Armstrong. This is the man that you've been referring to. Aha! Who is that? I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Oh, I don't know. Maybe a month ago in this very courtroom? This man is Furio Tigre. He's the manager of a loan office called Tender Lender. There's no point trying to hide the truth anymore, Mr. Armstrong. I know you couldn't go against... I know you couldn't... Also, das war Phoenix. I know you couldn't go against Mr. Tigre, at least not while he had this on you. Loan contract. A $500,000 loan from a black market loan shark. And you had no way of paying it back, did you? That's why you were forced to do anything this man told you. Oui, it is as you say. Mr. Armstrong. La Tiger, he told me he was going to use my restaurant for a business rendezvous. On that day in question, he was meeting the victim to demand that he repay his loan. I don't know why it happened like that. I just did what he told me to. I had no choice. I carried the body and la inconscient Maggie out of the dining area and into the kitchen. After that, I just tried to forget what I had seen. I think you can now safely say that the man who forced your hand was Mr. Furio Tigre. I do have one further question for you, Mr. Armstrong. The poison and the lottery ticket that were found in the defendant's apron pocket. Was that your doing as well? No, I knew nothing about that. Making it look like it was Maggie who had done it. I was not. It is despicable. It is despicable. Mr. Godot, you will summon this Furio Tigre as a witness. I doubt that can be arranged today, so we will adjourn for now. Proceedings will continue tomorrow. "30 minutes. What? The trial will go on. I'll see it to myself. I need half an hour to get that guy on the stand. Not a minute more." How the... Don't sit back and relax yet, Wright. No one knows if that chef is really telling the truth or not. This trial could still go either way. Very well. Your request is granted, Mr. Godot. We will resume once Mr. Tigre is ready to take the stand. Until then, court is adjourned for a 30-minute recess. To be continued. Puh. Ja, Dann sehen wir jetzt dann endlich den Tiger zu Gesicht. Könnte vielleicht schon der letzte Part sein. Oder gibt es noch 2? Ja, wahrscheinlich gibt es nur noch einen Part. Wir sind jetzt schon ziemlich im Endspurt. Wir haben noch das ganze Thema mit den Cadaverinis offen, ne? Aber das könnte alles im nächsten Part schon enden, ja. Ich denke, wir haben nur noch einen Part. Von daher, bleibt gespannt, bis wir im nächsten Part dann den Tiger überführen. Und ja, ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Bis hierhin und wir sehen uns dann beim nächsten Mal wieder. Bis dahin, macht's gut, Leute, und tschö. Was hat das mit den Würstchen auf sich? Warum haben wir die noch?